Did you know that every single night, millions of Americans over 60 unknowingly do something that could quietly trigger a stroke while they sleep? Without pain, without warning, and without a single clue that anything is wrong? You go to bed feeling fine, your heart steady, your breathing calm, but by morning, everything can change. You wake up confused, your speech slurred, or your arm heavy and unresponsive. The terrifying first signs of a stroke that struck in your sleep. I'm Dr. Thomas, a neurologist who has spent over 30 years treating patients who never saw it coming. They weren't smokers. They ate healthy. They took walks every day. But what they didn't know was that their nightly sleeping habits, the way they positioned their head, the way they breathed, or the small routines they thought were harmless, were slowly creating the perfect storm for disaster. In this video, I'll reveal 7 common sleeping habits that silently raise your stroke risk overnight. Some will surprise you, because what feels comfortable and safe may in reality be putting deadly pressure on your brain's most vital arteries. Stay with me until the end, because what you learn tonight could literally save your life by morning. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Sleeping flat on your back with no pillow. If you're over 60, I want you to imagine something that happens every single night in countless American bedrooms. You finish your nightly routine, turn off the light, and stretch out flat on your back. No pillow, no incline, just the mattress beneath you. It feels peaceful, maybe even good for your spine. You've done it for years, maybe decades. But what if I told you that this simple habit could quietly set off the very event that steals speech, mobility, and memory in millions of seniors each year: a stroke? When you sleep completely flat, your head rests at the same level as your heart. That may sound natural, but physiologically, especially in older adults, it's not. As we age, our blood vessels, particularly those in the neck and brain, lose their elasticity. They no longer open and close with the smooth rhythm they once did. Blood flow becomes sluggish. The veins that are meant to drain blood from your brain must now fight against gravity. Instead of flowing freely, blood begins to pool, slowing in the narrow, aging vessels. And in those quiet, unmoving hours of the night, sluggish blood can thicken and form clots. These clots don't stay silent forever. In the early morning, your blood pressure naturally rises. It's your body's way of waking up. But for someone sleeping flat, this surge can be disastrous. The sudden push of pressure can dislodge a small clot that formed overnight and send it traveling upward into an artery of your brain. Within seconds, the blood supply is cut off. What began as peaceful rest becomes the start of a life-altering stroke. No pain, no warning, just confusion, slurred speech, or a limp arm as you wake. I've seen this scene far too many times in my decades as a neurologist. A patient who went to bed fine and woke up unable to move one side of their body. The scan shows a clot in a cerebral artery. They didn't smoke. Their diet was reasonable. But every night, they lay flat as blood slowly pooled in their head, night after night, year after year, until one night the storm finally hit. When you sleep flat, you're also reducing oxygen flow to the brain. During sleep, especially deep sleep, your breathing slows, your oxygen drops slightly. And for the aging brain, that's dangerous. Low oxygen triggers blood vessels to constrict, while slower flow thickens the blood. It's the perfect storm for clot formation. One small clot one fragile artery, and everything changes before sunrise. A simple adjustment can make a world of difference. Elevating your head by just 20 to 30 degrees allows gravity to help blood drain naturally from the brain. It keeps oxygen flowing evenly and prevents that silent stagnation that turns into clot formation. A supportive pillow, a wedge under your upper body, even a raised mattress corner. These are not just comfort choices, they're life saving ones. Remember, your brain is not built for stillness, it thrives on gentle circulation. Sleeping flat removes gravity's help and forces your aging vessels to do a job they're no longer strong enough to handle. The result can be catastrophic. I often tell my patients this: you don't feel the danger when you're sleeping flat. You feel it when you wake up. And sometimes you don't wake up the same person. So tonight, before you lie down, ask yourself, is the way I'm resting helping my brain or hurting it? Because the position that feels natural could be the one that quietly triggers your stroke. And if you think lying flat is risky, wait until you hear what happens when you sleep face down, where your own neck can cut off the arteries that feed your brain. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Sleeping on your stomach. For many older Americans, sleeping on the stomach feels natural, comforting, even familiar. Maybe you've done it since your working days, or maybe you started after years of back pain. You lie face down, the weight of the day melting away, your head turned to one side on the pillow. It feels safe. But as a brain doctor who's treated thousands of stroke patients, I can tell you with certainty, this position is far from safe. In fact, it quietly triggers strokes and forms blood clots in ways most people never imagine. Here's the truth: when you sleep face down, your head is never truly straight. It must twist sharply to one side to let you breathe. That twist compresses the vertebral arteries, two small but vital vessels that run up the back of your neck and deliver oxygen rich blood to the deepest parts of your brain, including your brainstem and cerebellum. These regions control your balance, coordination, and even your consciousness. When those arteries are pinched or slowed for hours, blood can pool, flow becomes sluggish, and oxygen delivery drops. In a younger person, the arteries might recover quickly once they move, but in a senior, where blood vessels are hardened, narrow, and less flexible, Mrs. A, the circulation doesn't rebound so easily. Instead, slow, sticky blood can begin to form clots. These clots may linger quietly through the night, waiting for the early morning blood pressure surge that comes before dawn. Then, with one push of pressure, the clot breaks loose, travels upward, and lodges in the brain, a silent killer unleashed in your sleep. I remember a patient, Mr. Robert Hayes, 79 years old, a retired bus driver from Ohio. His daughter found him one morning lying awkwardly face down, his speech slurred, unable to move his left arm. He'd suffered a stroke in the back of his brain, the very area supplied by the vertebral arteries. The cause wasn't cholesterol, diabetes, or smoking. It was the position of his neck every night. Years of sleeping face down had slowly compromised his circulation until one night a clot formed and changed his life forever. Sleeping on your stomach also squeezes your chest and lungs, reducing how deeply you breathe. With every shallow breath, oxygen levels dip, carbon dioxide builds up, and your brain struggles to stay properly oxygenated. This oxygen deprivation causes your blood to thicken, a condition doctors call hemoconcentration, and that thickened blood is far more likely to clot. It's the perfect storm: twisted neck, compressed arteries, low oxygen, thickened blood. For the aging brain, this combination can be catastrophic. If you have sleep apnea, snoring, or take sleep medications, the risk multiplies. Your body becomes less responsive to oxygen drops, less likely to wake you up when danger strikes. You might think you're sleeping soundly, but your brain is suffocating quietly, starved for air and circulation. The fix doesn't require fancy equipment or medication, just awareness. Sleeping on your side, especially your left side, with your head properly aligned and supported, allows natural blood flow through the neck and keeps your airway open. A firm pillow that supports your jaw and neck evenly can prevent those dangerous twists that restrict blood supply. I tell my patients this often. What feels comfortable to your body may be quietly deadly to your brain because comfort and safety are not the same. And if you think lying face down is bad, just wait until you hear about another common bedtime habit, one that millions of older Americans do for warmth and quiet, but that can slowly steal oxygen from your brain as you sleep. It's something as innocent as pulling the blanket over your head. 3. Sleeping with a blanket over your head. There's a small, almost childlike habit that many older Americans carry with them into their later years. Something that feels harmless, even comforting. You pull the blanket over your head at night. Maybe it's to block out the light from the hallway, to muffle your partner's snoring, or to keep the chill off your face. It feels safe, cozy, and familiar, like a quiet cocoon from the outside world. But as a neurologist, I can tell you, this seemingly innocent act can slowly, silently, and fatally trigger strokes and form blood clots while you sleep. Here's what happens inside your body when you pull that blanket over your face. As you breathe in and out, the oxygen in the small pocket of air beneath the blanket drops in carbon dioxide, the gas your body is trying to expel, starts to build up. In the first few minutes, you don't notice it. But as the hours pass, your brain is rebreathing the same stale air, each breath containing less oxygen than the one before. For an older adult whose circulation and lung function are already reduced, this is a dangerous setup. The aging brain is far more sensitive to oxygen drops. Even a mild decrease can cause your blood to thicken as your body tries to compensate for the lack of oxygen by producing more red blood cells. That thickened blood doesn't move as smoothly through narrowed vessels. It slows, it pools, and that's when blood clots begin to form. Now, imagine this happening over 6, 7, or 8 hours of sleep. Your blood oxygen level remains low. Your heart starts to beat irregularly, trying to force oxygen through sluggish, thick blood. In the quiet darkness, your brain is literally suffocating. You might wake up feeling groggy or dizzy, but the real danger is invisible. A small clot formed in the night, waiting for the morning blood pressure surge to push it straight into the arteries of your brain. I'll never forget one of my patients, Mrs. Louise Tanner, an 83-year-old retired librarian from Michigan. She had always been healthy, sharp-minded, and full of life. But one winter morning, her husband found her confused, her right arm limp. At the hospital, scans revealed a small ischemic stroke deep in her brain. She had no major risk factors. Her blood pressure was controlled, she never smoked, and she took her medication faithfully. But her husband mentioned one thing. Every night, she pulled a thick quilt over her head to keep warm. We checked her nighttime oxygen levels. They dropped dangerously low within an hour of covering her face. That silent oxygen deprivation had thickened her blood and allowed a clot to form, one that changed her life forever. The science behind this is simple but devastating. Low oxygen, even mild chronic hypoxia, makes your blood more viscous and your vessels less stable. It triggers inflammation in the lining of your arteries, turning smooth walls into sticky surfaces where platelets cling and clot. It's the same biological process that leads to stroke, just happening quietly while you sleep. So if you're someone who loves that warm, closed in feeling, stop tonight. Let your face breathe. Keep your blanket below your shoulders and use a sleep mask or earplugs if you need darkness or quiet. Your brain depends on steady oxygen to survive the night. Take that away, and you take away the very protection your sleep is meant to give. Because here's the terrifying truth: your brain doesn't need trauma to suffer a stroke. Sometimes it just needs a few hours of air you didn't breathe. And if you think the danger stops there, wait until you hear about another common nighttime habit, one that feels practical, even helpful, but that quietly sabotages blood flow to your brain in a different way. It's what happens when you trade your bed for the recliner. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number one below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Sleeping upright in a recliner. For many older Americans, the recliner becomes more than just a chair. It becomes a refuge. It's where you rest your back after a long day, where you nap during the evening news, and eventually, where you might even start sleeping through the night. You tell yourself it's easier on your spine, that it helps with your breathing or your acid reflux. It feels safe, familiar, and comfortable. But as a brain doctor, I've seen this comfort turn deadly because night after night, sleeping upright in a recliner doesn't just stiffen your joints, but it quietly triggers strokes and forms blood clots deep inside your body. Here's what really happens when you fall asleep sitting up. Your body, tilted at an angle, is working against gravity in a way it was never meant to during deep sleep. Blood naturally settles toward the lower part of your body, your legs, ankles, and hips. In a young, active person, the veins and muscles in those areas easily push blood back up to the heart. But as we age, our circulation slows, our veins lose their elasticity, and our heart's pumping power weakens. The result? Blood pools in the lower limbs, moving sluggishly through the veins. And stagnant blood is a breeding ground for clots. Those clots don't always stay in your legs, they can travel. One small movement during the night, one deep breath, or even the shift of morning pressure can dislodge a clot and send it racing toward your lungs or brain. When it reaches the brain, it blocks oxygen instantly. And that's when the stroke hits. No pain, no warning, just silence and damage. I remember a patient named Barbara, a retired florist from Kentucky. Sweet, gentle woman. She'd started sleeping in her recliner after hip surgery because lying flat was uncomfortable. It was meant to be temporary, but months turned into years. One morning, her daughter found her sitting there, eyes open but unable to move her left arm. The scan confirmed a small ischemic stroke caused by a clot that had likely formed in her legs during the night. She hadn't felt it coming. She thought she was just getting a good night's rest in her favorite chair. Medically, we call this venous stasis, and it's one of the most overlooked causes of nighttime clot formation in older adults. When blood doesn't circulate properly, the red cells and platelets clump together. They stick to the vein walls and harden into clots. Add in dehydration, blood pressure medications that lower nighttime pressure, or compression from tight clothing, and you've created the perfect setup for a clot that may travel upward, right to the brain. Sleeping upright also interferes with your body's ability to regulate blood pressure through something called the baroreflex, a built-in mechanism that keeps pressure steady between your heart and your brain. When you're tilted too far forward or your neck is bent, that reflex can't function properly. Your brain may experience fluctuations in pressure that make it more vulnerable to stroke. You might not notice it, but if you wake up with swollen ankles, a heavy head, or a dizzy spell when you stand, that's your body warning you. Blood isn't moving the way it should. So if you've been spending your nights in a recliner, it's time to rethink it. Elevate your legs when you rest. Stretch them before bed. If you truly can't lie flat, invest in an adjustable bed that supports your back without compressing your circulation. Your comfort should never come at the cost of your brain's safety. Because here's the hard truth: a recliner may cradle you, but it can also quietly trap your blood. And when blood stops moving, life stops moving. And if you think that's unsettling, wait until you hear about another common sleeping habit, one that feels innocent, even soothing, but that slowly squeezes the very arteries feeding your brain. It's something millions of seniors do every single night without realizing the danger. Tucking an arm beneath the pillow. 5. Sleeping on your right side with your arm under the pillow. It's a position that feels natural to millions of older Americans, lying on your right side, your head nestled into a soft pillow, your arm tucked underneath for comfort. You might even fall asleep faster this way, feeling secure, familiar, at peace. But what you don't feel, what you can't feel, is what's happening inside your neck and chest while you rest. This common sleeping posture quietly triggers strokes and forms blood clots in ways that can devastate your health overnight. Let me explain what really happens in the body when you sleep this way. As you lie on your right side with your arm pinned beneath your head or pillow, you're applying steady pressure on one of the most important highways of blood to your brain, the carotid artery, which runs along the right side of your neck. Beneath it lies the subclavian artery, a major vessel that feeds blood into your arm and back toward your brain. When that arm is wedged tightly under your head, your own body weight compresses these vessels for hours. It's like stepping on a garden hose. The flow doesn't stop completely, but it slows, backs up, and thickens. For the aging body, that slowdown is dangerous. The blood in your neck and brain doesn't move as freely as it once did. It begins to stagnate. And over the long, still hours of sleep, that sluggish blood can form clots. When morning comes and your blood pressure rises, as it naturally does around dawn, those small, silent clots can dislodge. Within seconds, one can travel upward, blocking blood flow to your brain. And just like that, what started as a familiar, harmless sleep position becomes the beginning of a stroke. I've seen it happen countless times in my practice. One patient, Mr. Ellis Randall, a 75-year-old Vietnam veteran from North Carolina, was strong, active, and independent. Every night he slept the same way, right side, arm under his pillow, just as he had during his service days. One morning, his wife found him confused, unable to move his left side. The scan showed a stroke in the right hemisphere of his brain. The culprit? Chronic compression of the right carotid artery from years of sleeping with his neck bent and his arm wedged under his head. It hadn't happened overnight. It was the result of years of tiny interruptions in blood flow, one night at a time, until his brain finally paid the price. Medically, this position does more harm than people realize. The combination of neck compression and reduced venous drainage slows circulation, lowers oxygen delivery, and raises intracranial pressure. Over time, this imbalance can damage delicate vessel walls, making them more prone to rupture or clot. It's especially risky for seniors with high blood pressure, arterial stiffness, or atrial fibrillation because their blood already struggles to flow smoothly. The longer the compression lasts, the higher the chance of blood thickening, pooling, and forming clots. There's another layer of danger when your arm is trapped under your head. It doesn't just go numb from pressure on the nerves. That same compression restricts blood return through the veins of the arm and shoulder. Your brain, neck, and upper chest share connected venous pathways. And when those are slowed, it's like a traffic jam that ripples upward, affecting circulation to the brain itself. The fix sounds simple, but it can save lives. Sleep on your left side instead, keeping your head gently elevated and your arms free beside or in front of you. Use a contoured pillow that supports your neck's natural curve rather than one that forces your chin downward. Your goal is alignment, keeping your neck straight so blood can move freely. I often tell my patients, comfort isn't safety. What feels right to your shoulder may be starving your brain. It's a hard truth, but one worth facing, because every night you spend in that position adds up. And one night, it might be the last time your brain gets the blood it needs. And if you think this is unsettling, wait until you learn what your restless tossing and turning in bed might be telling you. Because sometimes it's not just poor sleep, it's your brain sending an early warning before a stroke strikes. 6. Frequent tossing and turning, poor sleep quality. If you find yourself tossing and turning night after night, unable to stay still or fall into deep sleep, you might tell yourself it's just part of getting older. Maybe your joints ache, or you have to get up to use the bathroom. Maybe you think it's harmless restlessness. But as a brain doctor, I can tell you, this constant movement through the night is not harmless at all. It quietly triggers strokes, it slowly forms blood clots, and it can be a sign that your brain is already struggling to get the oxygen and blood flow it needs. During healthy sleep, the brain follows a rhythm, deep, restorative stages where blood pressure stabilizes, blood flow to the brain evens out, and the brain's cleaning system, the glymphatic system, clears out toxins. But when your sleep is broken, when you roll from side to side, wake up dozens of times, or never truly reach deep sleep, that process falls apart. Every sudden movement in bed, every jerk or turn, changes the pressure in your neck and arteries for a moment. In a younger body, the vessels can handle it. But in someone over 60, where arteries have hardened and narrowed with age, even small changes in blood pressure can cause tiny interruptions in circulation to the brain. What begins as harmless restlessness becomes a dangerous cycle. Each toss of the body briefly reduces blood flow, especially to the small, delicate vessels in the brain. The body responds by tightening those vessels, then releasing them again over and over. That constant constriction and dilation damages the vessel walls, making them sticky. And sticky vessels are where clots begin to form. The medical term for this is intermittent hypoperfusion, moments where the brain isn't getting quite enough blood or oxygen. You might not notice it, but your brain does. Over time, this erratic flow increases the risk of small clots developing inside the brain's tiny arteries. And when those clots dislodge, they can block larger vessels, causing a stroke. One of my patients, Nancy Delgado, a 76-year-old retired piano teacher from Colorado, used to say, "I sleep 7 hours, but I always wake up tired." Her husband told me she moved constantly through the night, rolling from one side to the other every few minutes. At first, she brushed it off, but then came the headaches, the dizziness, the moment one morning when her speech slurred and her right hand went numb. The scan showed a small ischemic stroke, likely formed during those restless nights when her blood flow fluctuated again and again. Her brain had been warning her for months, but like most seniors, she thought it was just part of aging. Here's what most people don't realize. When your sleep is fragmented, your blood pressure never truly stabilizes. Instead of gently lowering and staying low, as it should during deep sleep, it spikes and drops repeatedly. Each spike puts stress on fragile arteries, and each drop slows blood flow just enough to let blood thicken and clot. The result is a perfect storm for stroke. And the danger doesn't stop there. Poor sleep increases levels of the stress hormone cortisol, which keeps your blood pressure high and your blood sticky. It triggers inflammation throughout your body, including your brain's blood vessels. Over time, that inflammation erodes their smooth lining, making it easier for clots to attach and grow. So if you wake up exhausted, your heart racing, or your limbs tingling, don't ignore it. Your brain may be crying out for stable oxygen and rest. Keep your room cool, avoid caffeine or alcohol late in the day, and talk to your doctor about a sleep study. Restless sleep is not normal aging. It's a signal, one you cannot afford to overlook. Because sometimes your body isn't just tossing and turning out of habit, it's fighting to keep your brain alive. And if that makes you uneasy, wait until you hear about another silent danger that happens even before you fall asleep. Something as small as skipping a single pill before bed, yet powerful enough to unleash a stroke by morning. 7. Sleeping after skipping blood pressure or heart medication. It happens more often than you'd think. You've had a long day, maybe you're tired, maybe you feel fine, so you tell yourself, I'll take it in the morning. That little white pill you're supposed to take every night, the one for your blood pressure, your heart rhythm, or your blood thinner, sits on the counter untouched. You turn off the light, crawl into bed, and drift off to sleep believing it's no big deal. But here's the truth. That one skipped dose can quietly trigger a stroke while you sleep. It can cause your blood pressure to surge, your heart rhythm to misfire, and your blood to form clots that stop your brain's lifeline cold. Your body follows a natural rhythm every 24 hours. Blood pressure rises in the morning, peaks through the day, and lowers at night so your heart and vessels can rest. But if you have high blood pressure, heart disease, or atrial fibrillation, your body doesn't regulate that rhythm well on its own. It depends on your medication to keep things steady. When you skip that dose, you remove the shield that protects your arteries from the nightly storm. Without your medicine, your blood pressure doesn't dip the way it should. Instead, it spikes unpredictably in the early hours, often between 2 and 6 a.m., the same window when most strokes occur. Your blood becomes thicker because the medication that normally keeps it thin or balanced is missing. Your heart, now unregulated, may beat irregularly, letting blood pool and swirl inside its chambers. And in those slow-moving eddies of blood, tiny clots begin to form. One of those clots can travel to the brain, cutting off oxygen in seconds. I remember one of my patients, Mr. Harold Green, a 72-year-old retired electrician from Wisconsin. He was healthy, active, and responsible about his health. He took his medication every night except one. One evening, distracted by a late ball game, he forgot his pill and figured it could wait until morning. But by sunrise, it was too late. His wife found him sitting on the edge of the bed, confused, his speech slurred. In the ER, scans revealed a clot in his left middle cerebral artery, a classic ischemic stroke. The likely cause? A blood pressure surge and clot formation during the night when his protective medication was missing. He told me later with tears in his eyes, "One night cost me my words." That's the danger, Don. Not the chronic neglect, but the one night you think won't matter. Because the aging body has no margin for error. The vessels in your brain are narrower, the walls are stiffer, and your blood is thicker than it used to be. A skipped pill removes the stability your body depends on. Without it, your system becomes chaotic. Blood pressure swings, platelets activate, clots form, and within hours, you're facing a stroke you never saw coming. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Take your medications at the same time every night, even when you feel fine. Keep a backup pill organizer by your bed or set a reminder on your phone, because at this age, routine isn't just good habit, it's protection. I tell my patients this often. You can't always control your genes, but you can control your routine. And when it comes to stroke prevention, your routine is everything. Because the danger doesn't always come from how you sleep. Sometimes it comes from the environment around you, the room's temperature, the way your neck is supported, even the air you breathe through the night. All of these can quietly shape your brain's health. And what I'm about to tell you next might surprise you, because it's not just about comfort, it's about survival. Final wake-up call. Sleep is not just rest, it's protection. At this stage of life, sleep is no longer just about closing your eyes and drifting away. It's about giving your brain the chance to heal, restore, and survive another day. Over the decades, your heart has beaten more than 2 billion times. Your brain has processed billions of thoughts, memories, and emotions. And now, in your later years, every heartbeat and every breath during the night carries greater weight than ever before. You've learned that the way you sleep, the positions you choose, the habits you've carried, the routines you keep, can mean the difference between waking up refreshed or waking up changed forever. It's not just theories or scary stories. It's medicine, it's physiology, it's reality. Sleeping flat on your back without elevation, lying face down, covering your head, spending the night in a recliner, or tucking an arm beneath your pillow. These are not innocent routines. They quietly restrict circulation, slow oxygen flow, and form blood clots that can trigger strokes in the very hours you believe you're safest. The truth is both terrifying and empowering. Most strokes that happen during sleep are not random. They are the result of subtle, preventable mistakes. They are the kind we make because no one ever told us they mattered. But now you know. You have the knowledge that can change your nights, protect your mornings, and maybe even save your life. What's remarkable is that protection doesn't require huge changes. It comes from small, thoughtful adjustments. Raising your head slightly, choosing a supportive pillow, keeping your room at a steady, warm temperature, and never skipping your medication. These choices sound simple, but for an aging body, they are monumental. They keep blood moving, oxygen flowing, and your brain alive and alert. And here's something I've learned after decades as a neurologist. Fear can save lives when it's paired with action. You don't have to be afraid of sleep, you just have to be aware of it. Sleep wisely. Respect what your body needs now, because the rules change with age. So tonight, before you turn off the lights, take a moment to think. Look at your bed, your pillow, your room. Ask yourself one simple question. Is the way I sleep protecting my brain or putting it in danger? Because when you protect your sleep, you're not just guarding your rest, you're preserving your independence, your memory, your ability to speak, to walk, to laugh, to live. Your sleep is your brain's sanctuary. Treat it with the care it deserves, and it will take care of you for the years to come. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with one. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.